Dear delegates, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all to the third edition of the world's largest FinTech Fest, Global FinTech Fest 2022, organized by National Payments Corporation of India, Payments Council of India, and FinTech Convergence Council. This edition of the fest is supported by Department of Economic Affairs, RBI, and IFSCA. My name is Amna Agarwal and I'm your host for this session. The topic of the discussion in this particular session is very trending. The topic is future of fintech and global investment trends. And of course, it is a part of the special sessions. We're very glad to have an esteemed speaker lined up for the same. And today, joining us virtually, we have Miss Susanne Chishti, CEO of Fintech Circle and co-editor the Fintech book series. So over to you, Miss Suzanne.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the nice welcome and good morning to everybody in India. I would love to be with you, but I'm here in London at the moment. But very much looking forward to share my thinking and the trends which we see about the future of fintech with you from our London base. Originally, I'm from Austria, so I'm originally from Vienna, but my children are half Indian. So that's what I was saying before. That's why my name, Chisti, is actually an Indian name. And so I'm excited to be with you today to talk about financial services and how the future might look like. So what I will do now is share our slides to talk you through the plans which we see how our future is shaping. So I hope you can all see now the slide deck in front of you.
Of
Basically,
course, ma'am, we can see the slide all clear.
what
And dear attendees, if you have any questions, you can post that in the chat box section. Once we are done, we when at the end we'll answer those questions. Over to you, ma'am.
exactly. Thank you so much. So a little bit more information to myself. So I'm Susanne Chishti. I'm an entrepreneur, the CEO and founder of Fintech Circle. I'm also the co-editor of fintech books, of altogether 7 fintech books now on various topics such as insurtech, payment technology, pay tech, wealth tech, the book about AI in finance, also legal technologies. And my background is I've been working in banking more than 15 years across Accenture, first as a consultant, working for banks, then for Morgan Stanley, Lloyds, and Deutsche Bank. And now I'm a non-executive director at a FTSE 250 company in London called CMC Markets PLC, and also an NED at a bank, Crown Agents Bank, at the chairwoman at a fintech scale-up called Lenderwise. And the trends which I have observed over the last few years are multiple. So I want to talk and share them with you. The first one is about the move between analog to digital. So that has started, 10, 15 years ago, where all our products, everything was analog. We had branches, we had separate paper documents for each product in financial services. And we've seen everything moves to digital. Everything becomes bits, becomes digitalized. And that's what we refer to as digital transformation in finance. The second trend, which started, is a newer trend, is between discrete products, such as an individual bank account, an individual loan, having a car loan, an insurance product. And we're moving towards embedding those products with other software packages. So this means that it's an embedded loan, an embedded product. So we see this trend happening as we speak. And the third large trend is about centralized structures, centralized business models becoming decentralized. And here, that's the newest trend. We've seen this with the whole crypto space, Web 3.0. So where we see we're moving towards a so-called DeFi, decentralized finance operating model. And what this means is that cash will become programmable. So we also talk about programmable money. So you can link conditions, how cash is being spent, how money is being spent, and what money can do in addition to being a transfer of value. There can be conditions associated with it by being able to program money. And last but not least, it's about ESG. It's about green fintech with a purpose. It's about investors who want to invest into green opportunities, into ESG investment opportunities. And where more and more investors, also lots of people younger, than our generation, really want to do things which have a strong purpose associated with it and want to improve our world. So let me give you a few case studies now. But before I do that, maybe let me give you one example about embedded finance, because often there's misunderstanding what it could mean. And embedded finance means everything, including embedded payments, embedded lending, embedded insurance, embedded banking. So I listed here a couple of companies, who offer various of these services. And what it actually means is when you think about the consumer, who wants to buy, let's say he wants to buy a flat in Delhi or in Mumbai, instead any person who wants to do that would need to get a mortgage, would need to sign up an insurance policy. And in the future, when everything is embedded, as soon as you find your dream property, all the rest will be taken care of. So the retail broker, who will help you find your property, will embed the mortgage offer, the insurance offer. So everything will come in one package. Much easier for customers to choose what they actually want, which is their flat. Everything else is like a requirement to get there. So this is an example, of how embedded insurance, embedded finance could work in the future. Let's look at a case study. So when you look at this picture here, you see a Tesla car. It's a self-driving car. As you can see, when you look at the driver's hands, the car is self-driven. And that's an example where green fintech is at the intersection of ESG and climate change. So let's assume that Tesla creates their own currency, a stable coin. And when we think about the previous crisis, with stable coins, which we've seen in the crypto world, and this is the reason why, because in the past, we often have seen stable coins which were neither stable nor were the coins. So it was a chaos. We've seen so much money being lost as a result of it. But of course, you can create stable coins which are truly stable, which are truly pegged to a fiat currency, and which have to be collateralized with assets which hold their value and which are strong enough, to ensure and guarantee the stability of the coin. So let's assume this has been figured out by Tesla. Tesla would offer in their wallet, in the car wallet, such a stable coin balance. So for drivers, you could put money into your stable coin. And then it would depend if you drive because you want to go quickly, to the end goal, or you might be a student, or you've got lots of time. So you can bid with other drivers who also have got wallets, who needs to go faster. And the people who have to go faster would pay the other drivers who can go slower via the digital wallets. So this would be an application, where people can choose how they want to spend their time and their money. Equally, the Tesla coin could be backed by solar panels and wind farms generating electricity. And so the driver could align the assets to their own risk profiles and their own values. And this, of course, would lead to more predictable travel costs. So this is an example where you can see how holistic offers will become in the future. Another example is this picture here. And that's a picture I took myself during my summer holidays in Austria. You see beautiful lakes in Carinthia, southern part of Austria. And there could be a world, if you continue to pollute our environment, where access to fresh water and access to clean air becomes the most important and most valuable asset in our world. And in order to avoid this, situation and to ensure that we protect our environment already now, more and more people invest in green investments, in ESG investments. And one of the reasons, of course, is because we want to invest with purpose, because talent is everywhere, but opportunities are not. And so we can use decentralized finance to deliver capital markets products at lower costs and at a reduced time. And so new value propositions can be created. So example would be carbon credit trading on an algorithmic basis, which is open for retail customers who would otherwise not understand it. But it could be made simple for them so they can actually spend and use their money in a way which supports their beliefs to invest in fresh water, clean air, and do good while investing as well. Another example I want to give you is a case study on financial inclusion. So as we know, more than 2 billion people globally are still unbanked. And as I said, to you before, my children are half Indian, half Austrian. I live in London, and I can see that financial inclusion actually and financial poverty is a global problem. So I want to share with you statistics here in the UK. So in the UK, where I live, we've got 4% of our population which has got no bank account. Now, we're coming to the winter. It's getting colder here in London already. And there are 40% of UK citizens will have to choose between either heating or eating this winter. So it's shocking, when you think about it, as a UK, as a rich country, there's so much poverty inequality taking place. So when we look at the United States, we have got 35 million people who have got no bank accounts. So financial inclusion is a huge issue. And on the picture, for example, you see here a farmer in Asia, and she has been able to tokenize her livestock via blockchain technology because she wants to feed her animals. And she doesn't need much to buy food for her cows, but she needs to show, in order to get a microloan, that she has got assets. In order to get access to this microloan. So using blockchain technology to tokenize her livestock allows her to borrow money to buy food, to feed her animals and keep the farm alive, to feed her family and hopefully trade, with others and improve her social well-being. So we can see that access to fairly priced financial services and education as well around good financial habits is required to live a dignified life, worldwide. So these are things, we really need to keep in mind when we talk about the future of finance and the things we have to solve. There's so much still which we need to address globally. The good news is that investments have become more global. So on this page, which has been taken out by the FTP research, we can see that now, in 2022, 50% of total financing volume takes place outside of North America. That's very important because we want, investments taking place in India, across Asia, in Europe. And we can see now that 50% takes place already now outside of North America. Just 10 years ago, it was less than a third. We had 69%, 70% was invested just in the States. So it's very important for the rest of the world to invest more in our local fintech companies. And also in terms of deal count, the second chart, you can see again, now 46% of deals are being done in the States, but more, so 54% are now done outside. So it's a good trend, I think, which shows us that internationally we can and we contribute much more, and we need to really support our own local entrepreneurs to grow their businesses and to generate wealth for our countries. However, what we're seeing now in the last, year, we've seen a storm, an economic crisis of big proportion coming towards us. We're seeing high inflation. We're seeing huge debts by governments. And we see more and more the squeezing of individuals, who are getting squeezed by not the salaries don't go up, but their costs go up. And when we look at these economic troubles ahead, lots of investors, I'm an investor myself and I work with other investors, and lots of investors think, what will be the Lehman Brothers moment now? What needs to happen before the market crashes even further? If you look at the UK environment, you see the UK inflation is at a 40-year high. We've already exceeded more than 10%, and now we're roughly around 10% here in the UK. And for 40 years, we never had so high inflation rates in the UK than we do have now. But when we look at the stock markets, it's a similar difficult situation. We've seen the S&P 500, going down by 20% year to date. The FTSE 250 in the UK going down by 21%. When we look at the global fintech ETFs, passive ETFs, they've been down by 41%. And just to give you one example, a fintech company listed in the US, Robinhood, you all know, they went down by 45%. So we have got an economic crisis overall, but of course it hits the fintech sector as well. And so what should investors do? What should we as investors do? What will other investors do? And what should you do if you're an entrepreneur and you want to raise funding as well? That's the other question. How should you respond in this economic situation which we are finding ourselves now? And the reason why these are important questions is because funding has gone down. So we can see the global fintech funding continued to decline. In the second quarter, it dropped by 33%, and it's down by almost half year to date. So we've got a huge decline of funding available for fintech companies to grow and to scale up. And so what do I see? I see, fintech circle, what do I see investors do and what can I see companies do? So the first thing what we see investors doing is to sit on cash initially. Lots of investors sitting on cash at the moment because they expect or they hope that they can deploy their cash later at lower valuations. Many investors also use a so-called passive core as part of their asset allocation, where they use passive investments as their core strategy. And then they use actively managed satellites, which could be fintech investment. There could also be commodity investment, property investing, gold, different asset classes. But these are actively chosen because of higher risk, but of course, higher return. And this model becomes more and more important now that one chooses high quality companies. And I think the good thing for company founders, entrepreneurs who look to raise funding now is that even in crises in the past, the most successful companies have been able to raise funding because they have been able to take advantage of a crisis sometimes by being able to hire top employees at less costs, by being able to grow their business when other companies collapse, competitors fall away. So there is also opportunities to grow in a crisis like this. And we see here examples of companies such as Airbnb, Uber, Square, WhatsApp, Glassdoor, who were founded in the last economic crisis. But of course, the key is quality. So as an investor, you need to do your own due diligence and of course co-invest with other angel investors. If you're an angel investor, for example, and of course, institutional investors do that anyway. They co-invest with other institutional investors. But if you are an entrepreneur and if you raise funding for your fintech company, the key thing is to think about capital efficiency. How can you show that you are capital efficient with the capital you will get from the investors so they can trust you with large amounts of capital, that you will invest it wisely. So this is in a nutshell, what we see in terms of fintech trends, where we see the investment horizon going in the next years. And our recommendations basically is to invest with purpose, do what you think is good for the environment, for our world, and be aware that we are moving into a difficult economic environment. So if you are an entrepreneur, reduce your burn rate and ensure that you survive the crisis, because you might come out stronger, hopefully, afterwards. And for those of you who do good, we are creating a film. We are creating the first Fintech for Good film, and it's a partnership with a UK TV studio, which you probably all know. It's called ITN. So with ITN Productions, we are creating the first film, which will feature finance and fintech companies who do good, who are working on better financial products, better financial solutions, or who are working to fight, financial poverty. And so if you are doing something in this space, or if you're working on ESG topics and you would like to be featured in the film, you would like to participate, please get in touch. I've got the email address here of our team. It's at info@fintechcircle.com. And with that said, I thank you all very much for listening and for joining me today. And I'm very happy to take any questions you've got for me. So I hand back to the moderator now. I just wanted to check if the moderator is here. I'm happy to take any questions, from the audience now.
Ms. Chishti, I'm right here.
Excellent.
It was an excellent presentation, actually. I was like the last slide which you finished, I was just checking out that only, and I just like we took a lag of like 2 seconds or so. So as I was going through the presentation, we touched on different points, like various aspects of the particular topic. Now let me just put in once again. We're just checking for the questions. But yeah, attendees, it was a fantastic presentation by Ms. Chisti, where we also happened to witness some case study, future finance topic, and much more things. We're just waiting for you all to post the questions so that we can put it forward. And
I can share maybe
okay.
one answer to a question I always get is about, the funding journey for entrepreneurs, because we've got so many startups, in India, so many entrepreneurs who are starting their first startup. And they often ask me, what is the funding journey as an entrepreneur? And I always say it's almost like a step-by-step approach. The first one is about when you start your own business, you will ask your family and friends. You will go to your savings, you see how much have you saved, and you will ask your family and friends if they can help you raise a little bit of money to develop a prototype, to get started. If these rounds of family friends have no more money, can't help you further, then you will go to angel investors. And angel investors are those individuals who have made money either by working hard and saving a lot, or they might have been entrepreneurs themselves who have sold their businesses and who can now reinvest the money they made into other startups. It's almost like giving back. So you can go to angel investor networks, and there are many across India. Of course, Fintech Circle, we also run a Fintech and angel investor network in the UK. But the key thing is to find these wealthy individuals who have got expertise as well. And we call this smart capital. And this means, it's a good thing, because it's not just about the money, it's also about advice. You need investors supporting you on your journey who have got the money to help you, but also who can be your sounding board so that you can discuss difficult questions with them. You can get honest advice from them, and they will support you not just in good times, but also in bad times. When things are difficult, they will be on your side, guiding you which decisions would be better for the company. And then
So
you've got,
basically, you're trying to say cut down the old tradition and step in and grow your business with more experienced people and mark yourself globally and be a successful entrepreneur, right?
exactly, that's right. You know,
Fantastic.
that's so true.
I think, sorry, ma'am, we already have posted one question. Can you just check it in the chat box section?
Yes, I can see. So I've got here a question I just see here. It says here, with respect to the point you mentioned of natural calamities, pandemic, and economic crisis. What is your opinion when a fintech startup wants to enter the Indian market that is into the investment management business? And how long do you think it will take for the customers to adapt to new investment trends? So that's a very good question, and I think, because I know India well, because I've traveled a lot in India. I mean, India is enormously large. I mean, you know that, of course, because anybody who lives in India knows how big India is, how many opportunities there are. But often as a Westerner, again, I know when people come from Europe, for example, they don't appreciate, how large India is, or if you come from the UK. So the key thing is to, first of all, appreciate what a huge continent India is, with 1.2 billion people. And so when you think about, how to enter the Indian market, I think it's key is to conduct local market research, with your proposition, to see what appeals to Indian consumers. And there might be different appetites in large cities such as Mumbai in India, in Delhi, such India, Mumbai and Delhi, versus in the small rural economies. They've got completely different needs. So I think the key thing is to do proper market research. And then in terms of investment management, I would say also one important thing is to allow people to invest in easy ways. It might be on a mobile phone, investing via WhatsApp, investing in a way which does not require, a complex client onboarding process, or a complex, portfolio management system, but which makes it easier for retail investors to invest and to check their statements, to check their balances, and also have low minimum investment amounts, because otherwise, again, you would exclude so many people who don't meet those high minimums, which you often have seen in other products, which probably might not work so well, for Indian consumers. But I think the key thing is to really appreciate the special subtleties, of Indian consumers, and do lots of market research before you enter, and potentially choose a local partner as well. That's always a good recommendation, is to choose local partners who have done it before, who know the market inside out, who can help you lend softly, in a new country such as India.
Fantastic. That was a great answer, I must say. Well, well, well. So with this, we would like to close this session. Let me just check if we have another question. Okay. Great. Thank you, Ms. Chisti. It was a wonderful session. And thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, your experience, your future plans, and how India can be better when it comes to fintech.
Yes.
Thank you once again. We were honored to have you with us at Global FinTech Fest 2022.
Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care.
You too, ma'am. So with this, we would like to thank our partners, Team Partner WhatsApp, co-powered by Amazon Pay, Spend Management Partner Encash, in association with Perfuse, Payments Partner Cash-Free Payments, CEO's Dinner Partner HSBC, Platinum Partner Google Pay, PhonePay, Visa, M2P FinTech, MasterCard, Falcon. Registration partner NTT Data Payment Services. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in this session. Stay tuned for more sessions.